Hi there, everybody. Meteorologist Greg D. Some big-time heat spreading across the northern United States this weekend and into next week. Definitely the hottest we've seen since last year, and how appropriate as summer begins later on Friday night into early Saturday morning across the U.S. And the 6 to 10 day temperature forecast catches this heat wave really centered on the mid-Atlantic and the eastern third of the United States. It'll start up here in the upper Midwest this weekend and then get pushed toward the Great Lakes and the mid-Atlantic states as we head into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe even Thursday of next week. So let's get to it. Saturday afternoon highs already heating up across the East Coast, but you're still going to see some more comfortable temperatures as we start the weekend. The heat really starts to peak up here towards Minnesota, the Dakotas, Nebraska, and Kansas, Minneapolis 93, 92 in Chicago. Look at Atlanta in the 90s, of course, down towards the south in Orlando and Dallas. It's going to be hot no matter what. As we head into Sunday, the heat then really starts to spread toward the east. Boston jumps from the low 80s on Saturday to an offshore flow and a temperature in the mid-90s on Sunday. New York in the mid to upper 90s, Atlanta there as well, Chicago over towards Minneapolis, Kansas City maybe a little bit cooler. As we go into Monday, some relief here across the northern plains. Notice Minneapolis down into the 70s on Monday, but the heat continues. Chicago, New York potentially near the triple digits down towards our nation's capital, Baltimore over towards the Carolinas, Raleigh, Charlotte, well up into the 90s to the triple digits. That heat holding strong as we head into Tuesday. Maybe Atlanta and New York up close to the triple digits. Some relief across parts of the Ohio River Valley, but Chicago still 91 on Tuesday. Boston 96. These are really intense temperatures, and the forecasts here indicate that we could see the heat continue across the south through Wednesday, though by Wednesday, maybe some cooler air impacting at least New England, bringing the temperatures down in New York and definitely Boston. That's an onshore wind there off the bay in Beantown. The temperature falls into the upper 60s, Chicago in the upper 80s as we go into Wednesday. The National Weather Service issuing a new product this year. It's called the Heat Risk Map. This doesn't look just at the temperature. It looks at, is the temperature unusual for that area for that time of year? And could groups that are at risk, maybe elderly, those who are sick, those without AC, be at higher danger of heat-related illness because of those unusual temperatures? So yes, it's hot across the South, but the risk here is lower because most folks across the South have air conditioning, so there's a place to go to get some relief. Up north, that is not as common. So Friday, starting to see some major impacts in the red there across Nebraska, Kansas, over towards Iowa. As we move ahead into Saturday, this is when that heat really starts to expand towards Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Louis. You start to see some extreme heat risk across portions of Nebraska, the Omaha area. And then really, I think we start to see the impacts as we head into Sunday. Chicago, St. Louis in the extreme category. This is dangerous heat, and it's really a twofold story. It's not just a high temperature in the afternoon, but these major metros, all the way back towards New York, will not cool down much at night with temperatures staying in the 80s. You're talking about some serious heat issues that could arise as we head into early next week. Monday, still looking at extreme heat here risk. Chicago, Indianapolis, Dayton, Toledo, near the Detroit area over toward Cleveland, near Pittsburgh, and in portions of the Northeast, including the Connecticut River Valley, back over toward the Hudson Valley, D.C., Baltimore, Cincinnati, all looking at extreme heat danger here, including the St. Louis area. Looking ahead into Tuesday, notice very little change, and now that extreme heat danger extending down toward the Carolinas, Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, back up towards Norfolk, Virginia, Richmond, D.C., all still in it. Most of Ohio and Indiana covered by this, into northern Kentucky as well, western Pennsylvania. We're talking about temperatures overnights that could stay in the mid to upper 70s and low 80s, and with high humidity and a little access to AC, this could be a real issue. Wednesday, we continue to see that extreme heat starting to shrink a little bit by Thursday. Remember that cold front moving through New England, helping to bring some relief. This is our first major heat wave of the season across the eastern United States, and it'll be with us for several days as those temperatures climb into the 90s. If you live in any of these regions, you definitely want to make sure you've got the air moving, the fans on, the AC, maybe find a place with AC. A lot of these cities will have cooling shelters available, so you may want to take advantage of them, especially at night. Check on the elderly, check on those that don't have access to AC. Make sure they have a way to stay cool, as these temperatures will be dangerous over the next several days.